Hello and welcome to Bible Study with Alice. And today we are on day 104, Psalm 104 of our daily Psalm reading. We're reading from the ESV translation, but you're more than welcome to join us from a different translation. As you can see, we are on Psalm 104. These videos are filmed in real time. Today's date is the 15th of February 25 and it's a Saturday. You can find the previous 103 Psalms in the playlist below. There is a disclaimer as usual, and that is one, these videos are unedited and also probably stumble my words in. Let's get started. O Lord, my God, you are very great. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord, my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendour and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching out the heavens like a tent. He laid the beam of the chambers on the waters. He made the clouds his chariot. He rides on the wings of the wind. He makes his messengers wind, his minister a flaming fire. He set the earth on its foundation so that it should never be moved. You cover it with deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke they fled. At the sound of your thunder they took to flight. The mountain rose, the valleys sank down to a place that you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so that they might not again cover the earth. You make the springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. Beside them the birds of the heaven dwell, they sing among the branches. From your lofty abode you'll water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. You cause the grass to grow for the livestock, and plants for man to cultivate, that they may bring forth food from the earth, and wine to gladden the heart of man, oil to make his face shine, and bread to strengthen man's heart. Trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the seed of Lebanon that he planted. In them the bird builds their nest, the stork has a home in the fir trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are refuge for the rock badgers. He made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting. You make darkness, and it is night. When all the beasts of the forest creep about, the young lions roar for their prey, seeking their food from God. When the sun rises, they steal away and lie down in their den. Man goes out to his work and to his labour until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works! In wisdom have you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Here is the sea, great and wide, which teems and with creatures innumerable, living things, both small and great. They go to the ships and Leviathan. 26. There go the ships and Leviathan, which you formed to play in it. These all look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works, who look on the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains, and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be blessing. Oh my gosh, Alice. 34. May my meditation be pleasing to him, for I rejoice in the Lord. Let sinners be consumed from the earth, and let the wicked be no more. Bless the Lord, O my soul, praise the Lord. So that is Psalm 104 complete. And tomorrow we'll be doing Psalm 105. So for those who are new, I know we have 3 parts to this video. The first part is me reading the psalm, or you're reading the psalm yourself, but that's in the context of the video. I read the psalm, and then the second part is we talk about the time periods of the psalms in general, and then we talk about the psalm itself. So with the time periods, they are also split into 3 parts. So the first part is a psalm that has a time period and an event, everything's kind of there, sort of thing. Those types of psalms are really helpful if you, like myself, like to know when it was written, why it was written, how it was written, the people involved in the psalm, all that stuff. That's really helpful, and there are those psalms in the book of Psalms that are like that. And then you have a psalm that is unknown but has an event linked to it, and what that then means is, obviously it's unknown but an event is linked to it, so then you kind of have an understanding of roughly when that psalm could have been written, and it might be during King David's reign, could be during King Solomon's reign, it could be during war, conflict, whatever you want to describe that as, in parts of Jerusalem, Israel, whichever, that sort of thing. And then you have those psalms that are unknown and have no event linked to it, and it's very difficult for historians and scholars to know when those psalms were written because they just have no idea when it was written. And because the psalms are written in a very poetic language style, it then becomes more difficult to know when that psalm is then written. Also, on top of that, the psalms were obviously originally written in Hebrew and then gets translated into different languages, and then get translated again into different styles of wording, because obviously you have the King James Version, the ESV version, Christian Standard Bible, the New King James Version, NLT, you know, you can name all the different translations. So then it becomes very difficult to know when those psalms were then written. So with Psalm 104, so it was unknown, but it was likely before the fall in Jerusalem in 586 BC. BC, obviously, are the same as BCE, just for context purposes. I know it's not mentioned, but if you do watch other videos or come across it, BCE is before Common Era, BC is before Christ. It means the same thing. Don't ask. It just means the same thing. And yeah, so it was likely have been before the fall in Jerusalem, but they're not too sure when before. But the fall in Jerusalem happened in 586 BC, so it would have been before that point. So Psalm 104 celebrates God's creation of the world and praises God's power and sovereignty. So basically here it talks about celebrating that God's creation, and as we know in Genesis talks about God creating the earth, creating people, creating beasts, animals, plants, all sorts of things. So obviously that, you could then say Psalm 104 could then be seen as a link to Genesis, which is also quite helpful when you realise that even though Genesis is obviously, as we all know, is the start of the Bible, you'll find that there are stories throughout the Bible that can be linked to other points in the Bible. So I would say Psalm 104 can be seen as a link to Genesis, because obviously talking about the creation. Now obviously Psalm 104 is celebrating God's creation of the world and, you know, praising God's power and sovereignty, but it can be seen as a link to Genesis due to the fact that it talks about the creation. Not like a word for word, obviously, because we can all tell you that it's not word. This is not word for word, but you could link it up. So you would say that the psalmist had inspiration from Genesis. Basically, you could see it like that, whichever way you want to see it as. But it does link up to Genesis because of the creation of God's creation, and obviously Earth is created by God. You know, He created the animals, He created humans, He created everything. Everything that's on Earth had been created by God Himself. And we do need to celebrate that fact that God has, in fact, created everything that we've got. Even if people are being destructive with Earth and trying to cause destruction to the world. But we don't need to see that. We just need to focus on the positives. And the positives obviously is God's creation. God's creation is the positives. And however much we, you know, might not want to see that, because we do always see the negatives. I mean, sometimes the negatives do override the positives, especially on Earth. You know, you put on the news, you will see, you know, obviously, you put on the local news, you see your local area, what's going on in your local area. Case in point for myself, all I keep seeing near me is car crashes. Not exactly helpful. I'm absolutely terrified getting in a car if I focused on that. But we have to obviously get in cars or go on buses or taxis, whatever, because obviously people need to get about. But if I constantly focused on seeing car crashes down the road that I live about 2 miles from the main bypass road for the area that I live in. So I live in the middle of nowhere, but I live near the main bypass. So it's not helpful. I keep seeing it on the news, all these crashes that's happening. But if I keep focusing on that, that's all I'm going to see. But we've got to focus on the positives. So if we focus on God's creation, like, you know, as I said, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I live surrounding fields, plenty of them, but fields are what I see, and that reminds me of God's creation. That was what God created. The animals that go in the field, like the sheep, the cows, the horses. You know, that people walk their dogs, so obviously dogs is a creation. So if we focus on the positives, not the negatives, then we are going to get somewhere, and we can celebrate that by celebrating what God has created and enjoy what God's created, instead of focusing on the negatives. Because as I said, if we constantly watch what's on the news, then we're just not going to get anywhere, are we? So we do need to focus on that, and that's what Psalm 104 is focusing on celebrating God's creation of the world that we see, and the positives that it has on it, And it praises God's power because God's power and sovereignty is what rules, and that is, that goes over everything. That's basically higher than, our world leaders. We've got world leaders all over the world, and those leaders are, they're portraying and projecting what they want on the world, but really it's what God's portraying on the world. God's power and sovereignty is what overrides everything. So that is Psalm 104 complete. And I'm going to write in the day and the date, which is obviously the 15th of February. So we're on day... Oh gosh, it's not very good at this. Day 184. And it is the 15th of Feb 25. And tomorrow we will be doing Psalm 105. So thank you for watching. Please like my content. Please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it if you could. And please turn on the notification bell so you then get notified of content like this that gets uploaded to YouTube. Thank you and goodbye.